welcome, Stuart, to the call. I guess, I want you to introduce to the listeners and the viewers about who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Thanks, Jane. Thanks so much for having me. It's always great to get on and talk to some other people about what we do and answer some questions, which hopefully will help them. So I'm very passionate about just living life to its fullest and to create meaningful space for business owners to be able to run a sustainable and profitable business, keeping their connection to themselves, to their loved ones and to their family. So I do that through mentoring them, showing them the best ways of being able to, as I said, create that sustainable business model to give them a great balance overall in everything that they do.
That's fantastic. And I guess, for me personally, I'm very interested in, again, what you do and how you do it because, personally, I've been working with Natasa for, nearly 18 months now. And, seeing you both just thriving in your business while having a family, like a big family, and with baby Zara, just came along not a long time ago. It just, for me, it's such an inspiration and be able to unveil what's behind the curtain for a lot of the people. It's just been, for me, it's just been something that I always want to do. So,
Totally get it. Look, it's working with your partner. There's going to be highs and lows and ups and downs. And I guess just having that own thing that you can do as well. So as you know, obviously people won't. The key to our business and the focus that we do is Ultimate 48-Hour Author. So we collaborate and do a lot of that together. However, it was important for me to find my own space, which was a real struggle at the start. Whenever you're working and you have a powerful partner, which then all of a sudden is your business partner as well, you need to find that space whereas you can be collaborative. As you know, and in relationships is so important. Women collaborate a heck of a lot better than men do. Men tend to want to always be competing, so they're a lot more competitive. So that space and that balance of saying, okay, why do you need to compete against your partner when you collaborate more? So one of the things that I love working with a lot of guys with when they're in a similar situation is saying some ways you do have to use your feminine mind a little bit more. Start to say, okay, you don't need to always be competing, or you don't need to think, okay, your partner can't get that big because you need to be bigger. So you don't need to put a ceiling on anything. I always love to say, let that ceiling just be unlimited and you can both go up into it rather than you believing that you've got to keep either yourself or your partner in that one position.
I think, looking back at cave men, cave women, how men were just to be hunters and providers for family, to now the women equally contribute to the financial of the family. A lot of men struggle with roles and responsibilities and how to not, like you said, compete with their partner. And I think, also from the women perspective as well, like women do still need men in the life to be that role, but in a different extent. And I think, what would be the advice for, for a lot of couples out there who think of going into business or already in business, how to deal with this struggle of power?
Yep, I guess my biggest learning, and it took me, I'd say 12 months, and for Natasha as well, it was just understanding and knowing your strengths and weaknesses of each other, not being caught up on the weaknesses, but utilizing the strengths if one person is better at one aspect of parenting or one aspect of business. So rather than needing to get the competitiveness and just trying to, but it's traditional roles. And I wrote an article, The Expectations of Modern Man, which was published, and it was really explaining a lot of that. The classic gender roles have changed so much because over the last 20, 30 years, back from the women's liberation movement, they had to fight for so many things. So women's muscle actually became a lot stronger at fighting. So they had to bring on a lot of the masculinity, and the men let it run for a long time and said, yep, this is cool, you've got to be able to come up. But now what has happened is we've got a lot of apathetic men that don't want to fight anymore. They don't want to stand up, and they become, you hear the classic, oh, I'm emasculated, I'm this, I'm that. And we all might go through and feel like that at times, but it's just our fear. So if we're not stepping into our own power and owning it, you've seen me post occasionally, hey, I will openly admit I'm the nurturer in our family. Yes, I'm very focused on aspects of business, yet if I get a great sunny, windy day and I can dry my sheets in a couple of hours, hey, I'm as excited as that as with business. You've just got to own it, and you step into it rather than thinking, oh, I'm just a this, I'm just a parent, I'm just a business owner. Be whatever you want and own it proudly. You're not just anything. You are this amazing person. You've just got to express it. And so when it comes back to your partner, again, letting them be who they are, no point changing them. Yes, it's always great to work on your weaknesses, but if they're not ready to do it yet, you can't make them. And that's when you see the butting
the clash, and I think
you're happy doing it.
I think you're just spot on there, when it comes to expectations and how our expectations have changed over the years. And men, I think a lot of men still hold on to the expectation that they need to be, the provider and protectors, and feel like they're not fulfilling their roles. Versus for you, it's actually about owning, who you are at all levels. If you're a great parent, own that. And if you're a great business partner, own that. And so accepting that it's okay for your partner to do the same thing, and, embracing the strengths in them and in the teamwork that you both have.
Yep. And it's where people get caught up. It's often their worries about other people's expectations or other people's beliefs on how it should be. With Natasha, there are people that say you mustn't be a good mum with the business drive and everything that you have. And it's their belief. It's what they want to come up with excuses, or they want to come up and say, well, unless you are this, this, and this to your children, you can't have it both. Same with me. Oh, well, why aren't you out there wanting to be as big as she is? And it's well because we've all got our place, we've all got our roles, and we've found something that we enjoy. And when we got this balance right about 18 months ago, that's when we've started to see the exponential growth in our business, but also in our relationship and our family bonding as well. Because it's everybody gets what they value and what they're worth. You get that, what you put in. That's what
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on this. And I think 50-50 in relationship doesn't work. 50-50 only works in divorce.
Yeah.
And you need to put in 100%. That's how much you get out.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to, putting 100%, a lot of the time we have the issues of time and balance. And how do you balance everything while managing, the $1 million business with Natasha, at the same time being, an awesome parent that you are, and at the same time having the personal space to thrive as a man as well? And how do you manage that?
Putting boundaries in place was definitely one of the things that we do. We're very busy, as you know, but people can use busyness as an excuse. So you'll see that with your clients. They're too busy to have a date night. They're too busy for that small little romantic. They're too busy to talk. So we make sure we implemented a tea time, which was just a time when kids would go to bed. We're not just talking about business. We're actually talking about real stuff. So how you felt today? Are you feeling a bit under the pump? Is this getting to you what it is? And men really struggle about that. A line I always use to people is, for the women that I help mentor as well, don't go up to your partner and say, honey, we need to talk. Because nothing good comes out of we need to talk. The guy's automatically going to go, what have I done? What's happening? Because that's the way men and women apply differently.
I love that, yeah.
So just word it a different way and say, just start the conversation. Because if you start it off with we need to talk, it's never going to go well. So definitely spend the time talking about real things. Have those boundaries around. When you're having the conversation, you switch your phone off. Your computer's not there. Same as when you're with your kids. It's got to be about quality time, not just quantity.
Time, yeah.
Quantity can be doing stuff that's not valuable. If you're not present in the moment, then really the kids aren't going to feel as though they're loved. Your partner's not going to feel as though they're loved. And same thing with the business. If you can't be, okay, a business hat on now, get down to doing this, you can't put the other distractions away. So I guess really just putting on whichever hat you need to have on, have boundaries around things, communicate a lot, talk a lot about it, and just acknowledge that you are in a different space to a lot of other people. And if it's working for you and it's working for the people around you and your clients, hey, obviously something's working right.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when it comes to communication, this is a challenge I see a lot of men struggle with. And, you know, I work mainly with women, sometimes men in a couple. But what would be the advice from a men's perspective on how to open up? And I guess, you know, you are one of the person I see is very conscious, you know, very conscious men in this society. You know, what's your perspective on how to encourage men to open up and voice their opinion and their emotions and not allow it to, I guess, suppress who they are underneath?
That is a very, very tough question, and it's an often asked question. So everyone will be different. My number one thing to start off with, so I'll just touch on one point first with it because I think it's important. You've got to start to get awareness on things. As you know, it's almost these days as he with or she with the most awareness is going to have the best of most situations. So be aware of how your actions or your inactions are going to directly influence those around you, your partner, your children, your business, your colleagues, whoever it might be. So if you know that your partner, that one of the things that they value is communication, and you think that you being quiet and shutting down and not talking about things, how is that going to make them feel about yourself? Now, it will not only make them feel something about yourself, it'll make them feel something about themselves. They're not worthy of your time to communicate with them. You would rather just sit there with your own thoughts rather than be present in the relationship or in the partnership, whatever it might be. So the next point then to how do you actually start to step up and express your opinion, it's just say over and over to yourself, not everyone will like me. Not everyone is going to have the same opinion as I do, and that's okay. That's okay. And there are going to be times when your partner's not going to have the same opinion as you. But if you never, ever, and this is what's happened to a lot of guys over the last 10, 15, 20 years, is that they don't speak up, then things start to happen very passively, aggressively. The resentment starts to come in there, and that is just a killer for your own quality of life and your relationship with your partner.
I think you're spot on there where, you know, if you don't open up, you actually withhold from yourself the gifts that you actually have. And, you know, I do encourage men to voice their opinion and to just be bold about it and to, like you said, own it.
Own it.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to that, it links directly with when you actually find the passion in life and you actually live your purpose, then you step more into the space of certainty within yourself and do that. And I know you left your job to go into business. And I know a lot of men who hit midlife crisis actually struggle with that and how to balance that with then living your passion and then creating a balance for the family and not getting that affect the family situation. How do you do that, Stu?
One of the hardest things that I found was the people that I associated with a couple of years ago are different to who I associate and I'm friends with now. Unfortunately, some people are going to drop out of your lives, the people that now don't align with where you want to be in your life and that they're happy living a mediocre base existence. And, you know, I was there 10 years ago. It was very simple. Even 5 years ago, I wasn't 100% on board. So it's just being able to say, okay, where do I want to be? What do I have to do to get there? Who do I have to surround myself with to get to that position? Because whereas some of the people that we hang around, the people that drive us, inspire us, motivate us. So if you're not getting that environment around you, how are you ever going to get to where you want to be? And if you're stuck in a career that you hate and you're going in there and you're drained, what do they say? The heart attack rate on a Monday is 30% higher than any other day. And
Wow.
It's a staggering fact. But there's that many people living with such high stress, high anxiety, and just outward dread of what they're doing with their job. Change it. No, there are so many things out there. Don't get stuck in the belief that you're only, again, we come back to this worth, you're only worth what you're currently doing. You're only worth what your current pay packet is. Is this the case? Or do you need to start looking around and asking these high quality questions, which for guys can be really scary, because you know what? Guys don't want to fail. They don't want to seem weak. They don't want to stand up or come home and say, honey, I'm feeling really, really emotionally screwed every time I go to work. They don't share that. They want to put on this brave face and everything's okay. But they do more harm than good by saying everything's okay, rather than saying, what can we do? Or I'm going to go and try to do this, or not try to, I'm going to go and do this because I want a better life. Are you on board with that? And so many people are staying together for reasons that they shouldn't be, in a way. And you've at least got to have that out there. You can't live an apathetic life because you're going to die young. You're going to be that person at the nursing home, no matter what happens, that's miserable, that's, even if you bought them a great bottle of wine, well, that wine's still not good. They'll drink it anyway. Or do you want to be the old bugger that's sitting in there with a wink in his eye, flirting with all of the young men or women, think whichever way, whichever gender this is, because you've lived life. You've had some fun. You've had an adventure. You've given it your all. I know what person I want to be at the nursing home. I don't want to be that miserable old person that has lived a safe, secure life.
Yeah. I think when you put the perspective of, putting in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, it does give you a different viewpoint on life. And, you do ask yourself, do I really want to be the same situation in 20 years' time? And I remember when I left my corporate job, I thought about it. I said, this is like a dysfunctional relationship. I keep coming back knowing that I'm unhappy. And I was
doing it.
Yeah, and I keep hoping that somehow it would change. I need to break off this relationship and go find something that I'm actually in love with. And it makes such a difference for me. Yeah.
Your whole demeanour, everyone's demeanour changes. It just becomes so, you just radiate this passion about what you do, and it attracts other people rather than repel them. We've attracted some amazing people into our lives over the last couple of years. People that, a few years ago, I wouldn't have even known how to speak to them.
Yeah.
Just like you're on a different level. So, it's so worth it. It's not easy, but it is worth it. And if you just one step after another, when you get smacked down, just get back up again. There's always a way forward if you choose to look at it that way.
Absolutely. And I think, I want to close this sort of conversation with one tip for all the men in business and one tip for all the women in business when it comes to balancing the family and the business.
Yep. So for the women, we'll start with the women.
Yes.
What no one else's opinion is important other than you and your partner. So if they think you're not less of a mum, or you should be giving more time to them, you follow what your dream is. If you know that you're giving your family, your husband, your partner, your children what they need, and that there are times when you might not be able to give them exactly that because you need to achieve X, Y, and Z, communicate with them. Tell them it's not going to be like this forever, and have plans in place and give them those timelines. I need to work X amount of time to build this now. We're going to have this holiday at the end of the time when we're all together. Be true and be committed to it. Okay. For men, it's own what you're doing. If you love certain things, share it. Speak up. Don't just sit on your hands and think that everybody's going to know what you want. That's the biggest thing, because women have, as I said, the women roles have changed a lot with their absorbing a lot of the masculinity that they needed to stand in their own power. And again, that's another conversation for another day. But they're not just going, they don't want a guy that's not going to speak up and ask for what he wants. They need somebody there to own it. And they still might be not even resentful. They still might cheekily snap back, or if they're in, they're inside of them, they're secretly saying, awesome, he's manned up, he's owned it, he's done this. I'm not going to let him know it, but it's going to work. And then you'll see it start to come back the other way.
And I must say that nothing is, I guess, more powerful and more amazing than a man really truly step into his power and own it, and and just own his women as well, to worship his women, just like, it's like I guess, god and goddesses, and to embrace that, femininity and masculinity in the relationship without judgment. I find it so powerful.
Absolutely.
For men to do that. So yeah, again, thank you so much for your time. I find it so valuable with the conversation, and I'm sure I'll have you back on for some other questions and other topics.
Fantastic.
Well. Thank
Love
you.
it, Jane.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I love what you guys are doing, and you impacting thousands of people out there, and yeah, good on you.
Thank you, beautiful.
Okay, thank you, Stu. I'll see you next week. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.